There is a strange moment no one warns you about. A moment when the chaos finally stops. And instead of relief, you feel fear. The noise is gone. The fighting is over. The pain that once screamed inside your chest has gone quiet. And yet, you feel uneasy, almost guilty. You look around your life and think, why does this feel wrong? You're safe now. You're stable. You're not drowning anymore. So why does your chest feel hollow instead of peaceful? This is the part no one prepares you for. The moment when healing doesn't feel like healing. When silence feels louder than suffering ever did. Because chaos, for a long time, was your home. And peace feels like a foreign country where you don't speak the language. If you've ever felt restless during calm, if you've ever missed pain simply because it felt familiar, if peace made you uncomfortable instead of free, then this message is for you. Not to fix you, but to finally explain what's happening beneath the surface. Peace is supposed to feel good. That's what everyone says. Peace is supposed to feel like rest, like safety, like finally exhaling after holding your breath for years. But for some people, peace feels wrong. It feels empty. It feels suspicious. It feels like something bad is about to happen. And if that resonates with you, there is nothing broken about you. There is history inside your nervous system. You see, the human mind does not seek happiness, it seeks familiarity. And if your past was chaos, if your childhood was unpredictable, emotionally unsafe, or full of tension, then chaos became your baseline. Not because you liked it, but because you survived it. Your nervous system learned something very specific. This is how the world works. So when life finally becomes calm, your system doesn't interpret that as safety, it interprets it as danger. Because peace is unknown territory, and the unknown to a survival-based mind is a threat. This is why some people self-sabotage the moment things get better, why they start arguments out of nowhere, why they feel uncomfortable when someone treats them kindly, why silence feels heavier than noise. It's not self-destruction, it's conditioning. It is suggested that what we do not make conscious will return as fate. When chaos is unexamined, it doesn't leave. It disguises itself. It becomes restlessness. It becomes overthinking. It becomes the quiet urge to ruin something good, just to feel something familiar again. You're not addicted to pain. You're loyal to what shaped you. Your nervous system learned love through instability, learned connection through tension, learned safety through hypervigilance. So when peace arrives, your body whispers. Because peace doesn't demand your attention the way chaos did. It doesn't keep you alert. It doesn't give you a role to play. And that's terrifying because chaos gave you an identity. You were the strong one. The one who endured. But who are you when there's nothing to fight? This is where the discomfort truly begins. Not because peace is wrong, but because it removes the armor you mistook for your personality. In chaos, you knew who you were. You had reflexes. You had strategies. You had emotional muscles constantly in use. Peace asks you to lay those down, and without them, you feel naked. Jung spoke of the shadow, not as evil, but as the parts of us we had to build in order to survive. Your shadow learned to stay alert, to expect disappointment, to prepare for abandonment. Those traits once protected you, but now they whisper lies in a quiet room. They tell you something is missing. They tell you something is wrong. They tell you peace is temporary. And so you search for problems. Not because you want pain, but because your system equates stimulation with safety. This is why some people feel bored in healthy relationships, why calm days feel empty, why happiness feels undeserved. It's not self-hate, it's familiarity bias. Your mind trusts what it knows, even if what it knows hurts. And here is the part most people never realize. Healing doesn't feel like relief at first. It feels like grief, because you are grieving the version of yourself that knew how to survive hell. You're grieving the identity built in chaos. You're grieving the intensity that once made you feel alive. Peace asks you to let that go. and letting go feels like losing a part of yourself. So you resist, you create noise, you overthink, you distract, you provoke emotion just to feel grounded again. But deep inside, something quieter is happening. The language of safety, of stillness, of neutrality. And that language feels boring at first, because chaos was loud. Chaos was dramatic. Chaos gave meaning through struggle. Peace doesn't announce itself. It whispers. It waits. It doesn't chase your attention. It invites you to slow down enough to hear yourself. And that's the hardest part, because when everything goes quiet, you finally meet yourself without armor. No crisis to distract you. No emergency to define you. Just you. And that can feel terrifying. Not because you're broken, but because you're no longer hiding. This is the moment many people mistake peace for emptiness. But emptiness is not the absence of meaning. It's the space where meaning can finally grow. You were never meant to live in survival forever. Your nervous system just hasn't caught up to the safety you're now in. And it will take time. Gentle time. Repetition of safety. Consistency without chaos. Moments of stillness that don't end in disaster. Eventually, your body learns, I don't need to be on guard anymore. And slowly, very slowly, peace stops feeling like a threat. It starts feeling like home. Not exciting, not dramatic, but real. And when that happens, you'll realize something profound. You weren't addicted to chaos. You were just loyal to the version of you that survived it. And now, you're learning how to live without armor. That's not weakness. That's evolution. Peace is often misunderstood. People imagine it as relief, as softness, as the moment everything finally settles into place. But for many, peace does not arrive gently. It arrives like a stranger, standing too close. It feels unfamiliar, almost intrusive, and instead of comfort, it creates tension. This is not a failure of healing. It is a consequence of survival. When a person has lived in chaos long enough, their nervous system adapts to instability as a baseline. What others would call stressful becomes normal. What others call safe feels uncertain. Peace in this context is not rest. It is the absence of signals the body once relied on to stay alive. It seeks predictability. And for those shaped by emotional volatility, neglect, or long-term psychological pressure, chaos becomes predictable. It becomes structured. It becomes home. So when life finally quiets down, the body reacts not with gratitude, but with suspicion. This is why calm can feel wrong. It's not because something is broken inside you. It's because your system was trained in a different language. Before you had the words to describe your experiences, your body was already learning how to adapt. It learned when to stay alert, when to brace, when to read the smallest changes in tone, movement, or energy. It learned how to stay one step ahead of pain. These adaptations were not flaws. They were intelligence in motion. The problem is not that your nervous system learned these skills. The problem is that it never learned when to stop using them. When chaos is constant, vigilance becomes identity. Hyper-awareness becomes selfhood. Survival becomes personality. And later in life, when external danger fades, the internal alarm does not. This is why many people feel anxious in calm environments, why silence feels heavy, why stability creates restlessness. Your system isn't broken. It's confused. It's waiting for the next impact that never comes. There is a difficult truth most people avoid acknowledging. Humans are drawn not to what is healthy, but to what is familiar. Familiarity creates safety, even when it's painful. If your early emotional environment was unpredictable, emotionally absent, or overwhelming, your nervous system learned to equate intensity with connection. Love may have come with anxiety. Care may have been inconsistent. Affection may have required vigilance. So later in life, when someone offers steadiness, your body doesn't register it as love. It registers it as emptiness, not because the love is lacking, but because it lacks the emotional charge you were trained to expect. This is why some people feel bored in healthy relationships, Why they miss chaos even when it hurt them. Why they unconsciously recreate tension. Not because they want pain, but because pain is familiar. Familiar feels safe. Chaos does not only shape reactions, it shapes identity. When the world around you is unstable, you become what the moment requires. You become alert, you become strong, you become perceptive, you become resilient, but they come with a hidden cost. Because when your environment finally softens, the identity built for survival no longer has a purpose, and when an identity loses its function, the ego panics. Who are you without struggle? Who are you when you don't need to endure? Who are you when nothing needs fixing? These questions feel destabilizing because they dismantle the structure you relied on. Peace threatens the role you've been playing for years, and letting go of that role feels like losing yourself. So instead of surrendering to calm, the psyche searches for disruption, not out of self-sabotage, but out of self-recognition. The shadow is not evil, it is loyal. It remembers the strategies that once kept you alive. Your hypervigilance, your emotional distance, your skepticism. Your need for control. These were not flaws, they were protections. But the shadow does not evolve on its own. It continues performing outdated roles until consciously integrated. It whispers that something is wrong. It stirs discomfort. It pushes you toward old patterns. This is why peace can feel unsafe. Because the parts of you that once protected you do not trust it. They haven't learned that the danger has passed. In chaos, your attention is consumed by reaction. In stillness, attention turns inward. And inside, there are emotions that never had space to surface. Grief that was postponed. Fear that was suppressed, sadness that had to wait. Peace removes the distractions. And when the distractions disappear, the unresolved rises. This is integration. Healing is not the absence of pain. It is the capacity to sit with it without fleeing. But most people mistake this phase as going backwards. They think something is wrong because things feel heavy. In reality, they are finally present enough to feel what was always there. Chaos gives purpose. It tells you who to be and how to move. Peace asks you to exist without armor, and that is terrifying. Because armor once saved you. Without it, you feel exposed, vulnerable, unprotected. But here is the truth few realize. Armor that once protected you can become a prison if never removed. Peace does not ask you to be weak. It asks you to be open. And openness feels dangerous to a nervous system trained for defense. So the discomfort you feel is not a sign that peace is wrong. It's a sign that your system is learning a new way of being. There is grief in healing. Grief for the version of yourself who endured so much. Grief for the intensity that once gave your life meaning. Grief for the familiarity of struggle. Letting go of chaos is not just releasing pain. It is releasing identity. And identity loss is always mourned, even when the identity was born in suffering. This grief doesn't mean you want the pain back. It means you're honoring what got you here. Peace is not a switch. It is a skill. Your body must be taught, gently and repeatedly, that safety can exist without vigilance, that nothing bad follows stillness, that rest does not equal danger. This takes time. It takes repetition. It takes compassion. At first, calm feels empty. Then it feels neutral. And one day, almost imperceptibly, it feels safe. Not exciting, not dramatic. Safe. And safety, once unfamiliar, becomes sacred. You were never broken for feeling uncomfortable in peace. You were conditioned. You adapted brilliantly to circumstances that demanded strength. Now those same adaptations are learning to soften. You are not losing yourself. You are shedding an armor that once kept you alive. And what remains is not weakness. It is choice. The choice to respond instead of react. To rest without guilt. to live without bracing for impact. Peace doesn't mean the absence of pain. It means the absence of constant defense. And when you finally allow yourself to live without armor, you realize something quietly powerful. You were never addicted to chaos. You were loyal to survival. And now, you are learning how to live.